much, Stephen.
Well, call you look more from up here. I was going to say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, but I didn't want to miss anybody else out, so I'll say good afternoon, conference. When David first came up with the name of the Heritage Party, I thought, well, actually, yeah, this is a really good name, because what we're looking to do is protect the values, to keep the values that we all, most of us anyway, all grew up with. The problem is that as soon as you say that you're looking to protect the heritage, to look at the values that we have as a nation, immediately those people that who fear us start calling you all sorts of names. Previous speakers have touched on this as well. They call you fascist, they call you far right. Apparently you can't be right, you've got to be far right. But obviously we are none of those things. They call you Little Englanders, which I always find is a little bit odd, because it rather leaves out Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. But no, we're not Little Englanders or even Little United Kingdomers. We are big wide worlders who really are not wanting to be locked behind the protectionist laws and rules of the EU, which rewards inefficiency, stifles innovation and strangles economic growth, as well as being touched on, doesn't give you much freedom to get rid of the people that you think are leading you in the wrong way. There are those who would say that we want to lock Britain into the past, hanging on to our heritage of landed gentry and an archaic class system and an arrogant and xenophobic view of foreign policy. That is not the heritage of this party or of this country. We, as a party, are not people who wish to revert to a time when our nation was run by aristocrats who used the working classes at best as beasts of burden and at worst as cannon fodder. We are not vindicators of tradition at the expense of experimentation. We do not put piety above progress. Because those people who think that preserving our heritage means living in the past have no idea of what our heritage really is. These four nations, united for centuries under a combined flag, have a heritage of advancement and progress. The embryo of British democracy started with Magna Carta, a document adopted even by the United States. At that time, we started to take power away from the monarchy. Wasn't all that successful, but it was a start. Later, we tried being a republic under Oliver Cromwell, who made advancements in how Parliament should function. And when that didn't work well, we brought back the monarchy, but not as an absolute monarchy, but as a constitutional monarchy that was subject to the same laws and open to the same punishments as every other person in the land. We have always been open to change in this country. That is part of our heritage. We advanced agriculture through the agrarian revolution. We stopped serfdom in this country. And we created the first common market. It's called the United Kingdom. You know, free movement of people, free movement of capital, no borders. And we still survive despite moves by a foreign power to break it up for their own empire-building ambitions. I'm sure you've all heard of the Northern Ireland Protocol. In the field of commerce, Lloyd's of London, which started in Lloyd's Coffee House in 1686, I'm sorry, this is the portion at which you can go to sleep. I'm an accountant, I'm used to it. This was a blueprint insurance exchange where underwriters could meet and transact their business. The Royal Exchange was founded in 1571, based on the model of the Antwerp Bourse. You see, we're not xenophobes. We don't ignore everything from abroad. We see something we like, we adopt it, we maybe adapt it, we improve it, and we make it ours. It evolved into the London Stock Exchange, where it continued to evolve, to embrace technology, to change its rules and modus operandi to fit changing worlds, and to remain one of the most powerful and efficient stock exchanges in the world, looked at with great envy by our nearest neighbours, who desperately wanted it moved to Frankfurt. During and after the Industrial Revolution, which was born in the UK, Britain forged ahead with vast developments in the world of science and technology. The spinning jenny, the first iron bridge, the first suspension bridge, the first iron ships, the first propeller-driven ships, the first steam locomotive. At a time, I had this conversation earlier, at a time when industry was not regulated to the extent that it is now. The unfortunate side of that was a lot of people died making these things, but you can't have everything. But we recognised that that was a bad thing, and we changed it. We are not trying to live in the past. We are not trying to go back to Victorian times. What we're trying to preserve is our attitudes. You know, the first evidence of a hydrofoil in a vessel appears on a British patent granted in 1869 to a chap called Emmanuel Denis Farcaud, a Parisian. So not only does our heritage include advancement and progress, it also includes international cooperation. The first modern bicycle, for example, developed from earlier models from around the world, was the safety bicycle, designed by an Englishman, John Starkley, which design which in its basics has endured and would be very familiar today. Another example of adopting and improving ideas from international sources. In the 20th century, we still led the world in many areas with the development of television and radio, the first jet airliner, the first hovercraft, the first aeroplane to fly at over 1,000 miles per hour, built not far from here on the Isle of Wight. For those that don't know, it was the Fairy Delta, and it had a droop snoot before Concorde. And let's not forget that penicillin was discovered in the UK. And the internet was invented in 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee, an Englishman and a graduate of Queen's College, Oxford. And in the field of sport, where was golf invented? Where was soccer invented? International sports adopted by the rest of the world because we invented them. And throughout our history, we have embraced the best of the world. Apart from examples already given, you have only to look at our cuisine to see that we are far from parochial and traditionalist and xenophobic. Our favourite meal is the Asian cuisine, commonly called curry. Fish and chips were developed from a fusion of two foreign imports, Russian Jews bringing in fried fish and chips, which were actually developed and adapted from the Belgian delicacy, erroneously christened by the Americans as French fried potatoes. You see, Belgium even contributed something which has affected the cuisine of the entire world. So we adapted them and we made them our own. So you see, our heritage does not mean living in some fictional past of xenophobia, poverty and stagnation, invented by the left to denigrate anything that disagrees with their view of the world. Our heritage is about embracing change, about seeking ideas from around the world, developing and improving them. It's about international cooperation. It's about being innovative. It's about political and social change for the better. It's a willingness to try new ideas and not being afraid to change our minds if it doesn't work, such as being a republic or membership of the EU. It's about raising everyone's lives to a decent level, having a social conscience, bringing equality of opportunity to all. It's about making a real contribution to the world as a whole, using science, technology, cooperation, and reasoned argument, not terrorism, compulsion, dictatorship, and fear. Britain's past is about looking to the future, and above all, our heritage is about making the world a better place for everyone to live in. And that's what we are trying to achieve here today. The Heritage Party stands for all that. It's about our attitude.